Alrighty, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Generation 5. I haven't done that in a bit. I mean, I guess I did a little bit like in a couple of videos ago when I talked about like the rumors of when Generation 4 is coming out and of course those weird articles and stuff like that. But today I kind of wanted to talk about some theories. Now, normally when you talk about theories, you talk about this like one specific theory and you give a lot of evidence for it and you make a good cohesive video and ultimately hopefully convince someone of those theories at the end of the video. But today, I want to do something a little bit different and discuss multiple theories, each of them that I think is a little bit ridiculous. Starting with, of course, the first one, which is that the main six are alive. Now, this, I guess, isn't the worst theory on this list. I guess in a way they might be somewhere. Maybe they are actually in hiding or something like that. The reason why I personally think it's a bad theory is because the main thing people go off of is Twilight says in one of the episodes, because they get like this hologram of her or something. It's really weird. In the show, you get a hologram of her and she says that I'm with you. Now, some people have interpreted that as she is actually around somewhere, but they can't like get to her because she's trapped somewhere or something like that, and the rest of the main six probably are as well. And that's pretty much as far as the theory goes. And I don't really like this for a number of reasons. The main reason why is because it doesn't have that much evidence with it. Obviously, that could have been interpreted in many different ways. The same way, you're trying to praise someone or like help them out or something like that and tell them, hey, I'm here for you, even though you may be hundreds of miles away or something like that, right? So it could have been interpreted that way, and I think that's probably what they were kind of really going for with that. But the other reason, and the main reason why I don't like this theory, is because it basically says that the main six are alive and they're still around, but they're not doing anything about what's been going on or anything like that. To me, that signifies more of a failure than what they actually did. Another thing about it too is if they are alive, then that I feel like that undercuts a lot of what's going on here. I feel like it just kind of ruins the story a little bit if the main six are still alive. I really do think that it would hurt the story a lot if they're alive and they're doing stuff behind the scenes or something like that. I really personally do think it would hurt the story a little bit. Now, that's not to say that they won't do that, because it seems like the writers aren't really good at doing their job here in this series for some reason. But yeah, that's kind of the reasons why I don't like that theory. It's got a lot of problems with it too, of course. This being several, like probably centuries into the future, thousands of years probably even, since Generation 4. Obviously, it does take place in the same universe, though. So number two kind of is a little bit similar. It suggests that Twilight is alive, but Opaline, however you want to say that, is Twilight. Opaline is Twilight, apparently. I don't like this either. I guess I kind of like it a little bit in a way, but I also don't think that's accurate at all, because Opaline, I'm pretty sure they even say Twilight's name, right? And they're like against Twilight. They're an enemy of Twilight, right? Now, we can say everything we want to say about the comics and stuff like that, and we can confirm based on the comics that these are two different characters, but the comics have always had a weird continuity to them, almost like they're a different universe or something like that. Because in Generation 4, for example, Sombra came back way sooner than he did in the main show. He came back, redeemed himself and everything like that. I made a whole video about it. It's a really good comic storyline and stuff like that. But in the show, that obviously isn't canon, because later on in like the final season, he comes back and he's evil and all this other stuff, right? So it's a weird thing. So the comics aren't canon, but they also kind of are in a way, because sometimes the show references stuff in the comics. It's weird, but for the sake of this video and the rest and everything going forward, we're going to ignore any evidence that are in the comics. But Opaline being Twilight is just such a bad theory. I kind of get where people are coming from for it, because like it would be a nice twist a little bit, but at the same time it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I think one of the main leading theories for it is that Luna was possessed or like corrupted by this nightmare night kind of thing. Maybe something similar happened to Twilight and she became Opaline and she hated friendship and she split the ponies apart or something like that, right? I mean, I guess I could see where people are coming from that, but there's no evidence for it, and I really don't like that. It's a little bit too easy and a little bit too lazy and a little bit, I don't know, not that great. I don't think it would be very good for the story. Now, here's another thing too. This third one I also really hate as well, is that this is just taking place in a different universe, that it's not the same universe as Generation 4, and so everything is different for that reason, and Generation 4 is its own universe, and Generation 5 is its own universe, which is a little bit weird, because like we know for sure that's not the case, because they met like a version of Twilight, obviously. Like, they met her past self through this weird hologram thing, so we know that can't be the case unless in this universe the main six never, like Twilight, for example, didn't become an alicorn or something like that in this universe, or like, I don't know, a lot of different things have to have had happened differently in this universe, and we know that they didn't because we know the stories that Sunny has shared with the others and stuff like that, and we know that this is the same universe as well because the people making the show straight up told us this is the same universe, just many, many, many years later. Friendship has been forgotten, that kind of thing. Like, that's the premise of the show. So again, it doesn't make sense for it to be a different universe or different timeline. One theory that I did see, I kind of like it a little bit, but I also still kind of hate it. But one theory I saw was that in Generation 4, when Twilight was chasing Starlight through these different timelines, because Starlight kept changing stuff in the past and things like that, and Twilight kept ending up in different alternate realities and stuff like that, one theory I seen suggested that this takes place in one of those timelines, and Twilight is currently there, and she's trying to fix things while also trying to escape again and continue chasing Starlight or something like that. I kind of like that one a little bit more than the one I just mentioned, but again, I don't like it that much. It doesn't really work that well. I don't even know how they would go about telling that in the story, so it can't be true. Like, there's no way that's true. Number 4 here is, this one is probably one of the most ridiculous ones because there's zero evidence for this, but Izzy is Luna's daughter. That's the theory. That's the theory. Evidence? No, you don't need that. They're both unicorns? I don't know. I mean, one is an alicorn, but they both have horns. They both have magic. I'm telling you, it's gotta be true. It's such a ridiculous theory. I hate a lot of these ones where it's like, Hitch is the descendant of Fluttershy and stuff like that, which I guess, sure, fine. I guess I'm not it's such a big deal if that is true or whatever like that, but I hate it because it's kind of lazy in a way, and it doesn't really add anything to the story. It doesn't really take anything from the story either. It just is maybe a neat piece of trivia if that's the case. It's kind of like in Legends Arceus or Arceus, or however you want to say it, where people were like, oh, this is the ancestor to this character, and this is the ancestor to this character. Like, yeah, that's kind of neat, I guess, but I don't care. I mean, like, who the fuck cares? It's not relevant to the story if they are an ancestor to this character and so on and so on. Like, it doesn't matter, right? And that's kind of what I get from this theory, is that Izzy is Luna's daughter, and that's like, okay, well, big deal if that's true. Well, I guess that is a big deal if it's true, because that means Luna was like alive fairly recently, if not still alive somewhere. But at the same time, there's zero evidence for it. It doesn't make any sense that could be the case. So yeah, I don't like that one. On the same vein of like ancestors and descendants and stuff like that, I got one comment suggesting that Sprout's father was also a tyrant. Again, zero evidence for it. Zero evidence for it. But I guess it kind of would make a little bit of sense if like his father was a tyrant, and maybe that's why he was so good at being one. But again, zero evidence for that. Obviously, we don't know anything about his father, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense, because if he was a tyrant, what was he a tyrant to? Did he rule Maritime Bay before he died or something, and then Phyllis took over and like fixed things? Like, what's going on there? Like, a lot of it doesn't make any sense. If he's a tyrant, who is he ruling over? And like, you know what a tyrant is, right? They're not like exactly good people. So Maritime Bay definitely wouldn't be in as good shape as it is if he was a tyrant and was ruling over Maritime Bay. So yeah, that one also doesn't really work. But yeah, those are 5 Generation 5 theories that I've seen floating around the internet that I'm not really a big fan of. A lot of these just, maybe they could work and maybe they could be tweaked to like maybe make the story a little bit more interesting. For the most part, these things don't really add anything to the story. I think the one that would add the most to the story would be Izzy having her mother be Luna or something like that. Now, who's to say? One of my personal theories, I'll throw this out there, it's not really the best theory, it's just something that I think would be kind of neat to have happen later on, is that Misty is a different character entirely. I think it'd be very interesting if Misty was somehow related to Twilight Sparkle in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I think it would be very good for the story, because then you could have it so that Opaline kidnapped Twilight's daughter or granddaughter or whoever to kind of get back at Twilight a little bit like that. To like not only say, I defeated you, but I'm also going to take your bloodline and I'm going to control it from here on out, so that there is zero chance that your bloodline could ever do anything to stop me, because you know, obviously she's a powerful unicorn and stuff like that. So I feel like that could work, and that could be a cool thing to the story, but at the same time, zero evidence, nothing good there at all. I feel like, though, that if anything is going to add to the story, that would probably be pretty good to this story. But a lot of these, I don't really like. Let me know in the comments below, though, if you liked any of these theories, and if you have any other weird, wacky, like, theories that you have zero evidence for but would still love to see happen in the show or something like that, leave them down in the comments below, and maybe I'll make a video about those too or something, give my own thoughts on them and see how, like, maybe talk about how they could work in the story. But yeah, for now, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, if you did, please do leave those comments, subscribe, like the video, maybe share the video around or something like that, because all of that is really helpful, and I'd very much appreciate it. So do all those wonderful things like that, and remember to, most importantly, stay wonderful. Outro is messed up, but it's fine.